Go ahead, David.
Welcome, everyone, to the award ceremony. We are instigating a new award, the Jeffrey Hamilton Award, for the most innovative research paper. We did a call for papers earlier this year and received several really compelling papers. The editorial board chairman, Thibault Margot, is going to talk about that and actually recognize the winner. My job is to introduce the award, explain why it's called the Jeffrey Hamilton Award, and I'll begin that right now. Jeffrey Hamilton Innovation Award is given in honor of one of the truly great innovators in public-private partnerships. Until his retirement in April of 2021, Jeffrey was chief of the Economic Cooperation and Trade Division with the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. In this position, he led development of the UNECE International PPP Center of Excellence and led the creation of the People First Public-Private Partnership for Infrastructure Development in support of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. People First outcomes include transparency, equity, stakeholder engagement, being fit for purpose, sustainability, and resilience. He also instituted the PPP Specialist Centers of Excellence program, a true innovation leading to establishment of 8 affiliated non-governmental organizations, each specializing in a sector such as water, smart cities, ports, and policy and law. His other interests include the protection of intellectual property for innovation, which he cherished, and Jeffrey believed that innovation was the solution to many global issues. Before joining UNECE, Jeffrey worked in several international organizations, including the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, the International Labor Organization, the Commonwealth Secretariat, and the Institute for Research on Multinational Enterprises. Most importantly, Jeffrey was a singular figure in the world of PPPs. A self-described bureaucrat who hated bureaucracy, Jeffrey was and is a true friend and mentor to so many of us in the PPP profession. He always has time to listen, to provide guidance and encouragement. 12 years ago, he met someone who dreamed of taking his vision of using PPPs as a catalyst for innovation and disaster resilience around the world. And from day one, believed in and empowered that vision. If not for Jeffrey, there would be no ISRC. There would be no partnership between ISRC and WAPPP. And I would certainly not be here today. I venture that there are a lot of you out there watching that could say the same. So, in the spirit of innovation and progress, the first annual Jeffrey Hamilton Award for Innovation, along with a $3,000 cash prize gladly provided by ISRC, will be awarded by WAPPP Educational Board Chairman Thibault Margot. Thank you very much. I think Thibault may be having technical problems, so I'll go ahead and proceed until we may be able to get him back. The Jeffrey Hamilton Award, I'm proud to say, has been awarded to Dennis Jose and Jasri Jindal for their paper, Innovative PPP Models in Mobility Sector, a case study of 3 Indian cities. Congratulations on your award. Congratulations on doing a truly innovative approach, looking at how to do these things through real live case studies. I think it was an excellent job. And I'll call on you first, Dennis, to give your response. There's Thibault. We have him back. Thibault, I went ahead and introduced the award-winning paper and the people behind it.
Well, thank you, David, and sorry for this technical has been attributed to issue. As you mentioned, the award in great author, architect planner MBA, currently working as a transport specialist, worked across project life cycle with multiple state government and also central ministry. At the World Bank, she looks after urban mobility, passenger mobility, waterways, gender inclusions, to find workable solutions and to help mitigate congestion, emission, and sustainability-related issue, with a special focus on inclusion, affordability, and climate mitigation. And our co-author is Dennis Jose. Dennis is an engineer, transport planner, currently working as a short-term consultant for World Bank in India. He has 4 years of experience working as a researcher, urban transport planner, and expert in academic, government, and consultancy services. His interest lies in public transport system planning, design, and financing, and he has worked in BRTS, city bus, intermediate public transport, and freight systems. He works toward creating gender-sensitive, affordable, inclusive, and climate-resilient mobility system. Just a few words before I give them the floor, just to recall that we have gone through a very long process to attribute this award. First, we launched a call for abstracts. We received about 10 proposals. The editorial board has reviewed and provided recommendations. And finally, we had 8 papers that were thoroughly reviewed by the board and assessed according to 4 criteria. First criteria was academic quality. Then we had innovative content, relevance for global challenges, and relevance for PPP practitioners. And the unanimous opinion of the editorial board was to attribute the award to Jeffrey and Dennis for their fantastic paper. And this proposal was agreed and confirmed by the executive committee of WAPPP. So I'm proud to give you the floor. Jeffrey and Dennis, please proceed.
Thank you everyone, and maybe just to start with a small thanks. This was very unexpected, actually. A few days back when we got the mail, it was seriously, I was shocked. Maybe let me just share my screen while Dennis, do you want to say something? I will just bring up the presentation. Please let me know once this is visible.
We have it.
Lovely. Great. So thank you, and thank you again, once again, to the entire fraternity for choosing this paper. It's indeed innovative in multiple sense. And why we chose 3 cities is because, typically India has been a developing country. We've got limited funds, large population. So PPP is the way that we've grown historically. We've done a lot of innovation in road, starting with that. We've got traditional toll collections, both outsourced initially, then the entire TBFOT, BOT, all of those, and we've come to now HAM, which is a hybrid annuity model we've done. We've tried to emulate a similar, PPP mechanisms in parking, in rail, but urban mobility so far has been very, public-driven, private-driven sector. You've got private sector players providing mobility services in the cities, and this one we chose specifically because this is where cities, city governments especially, which are considered to be extremely not so well capacitated to do such kind of innovations, took up the challenge of providing urban mobility in a sustainable, affordable manner to cities, and then found very innovative urban solutions to that, PPP solutions to that. I'll just move to the next slides. So the structure, although it's a very large presentation, and I'm happy to share it with the team to circulate it with the audience, we'll just briefly right now talk about 3 cities, Amritsar, Kochi, and Surat. 2 of those used paratransit autos for innovation, and Kochi used buses, these existing buses, to show how it can be innovated and the service could be improved. Why PPP? Again, not preaching to the choir. PPP brings in efficiency, that it's scalable, it's the appropriate risk allocations allows you to be more innovative in that sense, and not just for investments that we've seen in developing countries, but also going forward increasingly more so for service provisions. Amritsar. So, in short, Amritsar, or most urban cities in India, right? Most of the 450 cities, you'd have barely 10, 12 large cities which have formalized bus transportation system. Most are serviced by paratransit, the autos, the so-called autos, and more so going forward, e-rickshaws, the shorter versions of those, the so in this city and similarly in Surat, what we saw was the state government, in this case the Amritsar Smart City. Then you'll see the stakeholders in the slides. Amritsar Smart Cities help the existing private operators to come together as societies, because it gives you a critical mass to go back to the financial institutions and get a better rate of interest, negotiate better terms for the contract, for the loan that you get for the vehicles. They also helped do capacity building of these auto drivers, in terms of how do you drive, what regulations do you follow, what emission standards do you ensure, why not overload, because these also have significant safety and other implications in the city for commuters. The private sector came together, and they, from the, in this case, conventional autos shifted to e-autos. In case of Surat, they shifted from, they were women drivers, which were never seen before, as compared to, that's a traditionally, transport is a traditionally men-driven sector. So they shifted to women operators, and in terms of the community, they got better services, lesser emission, cheaper rates, because the autos, the e-autos or women-driven autos are much, cleaner and sustainable in that sense, green fuel. So with that basic background around Amritsar, we've got why is it affordable, sustainable, all of those parameters in the presentation. Maybe I'll let Dennis talk about Kochi, given that we're very short in time. Sure. Dennis, over to you.
Yes, from the autos, we move to the bus systems in Kochi. What we see in Kochi is about a 2.1 million population, spanning over 632 square kilometers. It has 0.8 million passenger trips in the public transport system. The typical case or the critical factor in Kochi is about bus plays an important factor in the public transport scenario, with 94% of all the bus system has been private. India as a country had this Motor Vehicles Act in 1988, which allowed the concentration of the permits to be along the profitable routes. So what happened in cities with larger private mode share is that they took major permits in highly demand-sensitive areas. So what happened is a supply-demand mismatch that we can observe in the city. So this company called Clean Smart Bus Limited was formed as part of this metro system in Kochi, where there are two innovative components. One is it runs electric feeder buses to the metro system. And second innovative component is that it were all independent private operators. They all integrated into 200 buses, and they are having an integrated operations system. Next slide. So this slide, we can see the supply and demand gap, where you can see the city center is having a larger supply and a lesser demand, whereas outskirts is having lesser supply and greater demand. So this supply-demand mismatch exists in the existing scenario. So this company had a stakeholders of transport department of the state, being a regulator, facilitator, and it provides an access to the finance, whereas the private operators owns assets, operates and maintains it. Whereas Metro as a system came in between, and it offered a GCC contract for running the buses as feeder to the Metro. And fourth, it had a technology provider bringing the system in place within the buses. Next slide. So we have this innovation metrics, as Jayshree had said, we have affordable, sustainable, and resilient climate adaptive. Affordable because not only because of the fare as a system, but public transport brings the accessibility to the different modes and to the different places. Sustainability because it provides the safety parameters. In Kochi, with this company, they have incorporated NCMC-based ticketing, that is technical integration that's happening. And they have camera systems, surveillance, increasing the safety and security within the public transport. Resilience, with the pandemic, their operations were restricted, and this integrated operations made them to have the bulk procurements shift to the CNG as a mode with increasing diesel prices. So that made them sustain in the system. And climate adaptive because they are shifting to the hydrogen and electric bus systems. Next slide. So this is one of the pictures within the bus system. We have the cameras, the PIS screen, passenger informations, surveillance cameras within the buses, and the ATM machine. Yeah. So these are all technologically incorporated within the buses. So increase the safety and security of the people. Gender sensitivity, they introduce women checkers within the buses. So they have a workforce ratio of 20% in a male-dominated public transport system. And challenges where the erstwhile government challenges of long gestation periods to get the system in place, and to integrate all the independent operators into one company was a big challenge for them. So yeah, we'll move forward.
Right. Similarly, in case of Surat, we saw women operators being integrated into a society where they would start. The city helped them, the government officials helped them buy these auto rickshaws, train them how to drive them, buy at cheaper rate, longer tenures for the loan repayment. These were green autos, and in terms of for users, the benefit was because they were getting better autos at a lesser price, because e-autos are less. In terms of OPEX and CAPEX, they're lesser. So in turn, the fare is lesser for people to pay. For the operators, this is additional income, and this is flexible income for women, especially. Also, because these were women operators, the city was very happy, having their women daughters, especially, or women working, use these because they found it more safer. So, in that sense, yes, it was affordable, sustainable, resilient, and maybe lots of other benefits that we saw. The innovation in this, what we're trying to highlight through all these case studies is that city or the government, what traditionally used to do is PPP was give money. And in this case, this was not just money that they gave. They also ensured better policy and ecosystem for any private operator to become a part of it and make this system more scalable. Maybe with that, I will just try and close this. So, we've also got given some policy recommendations where we suggest that the government should be more of a facilitator, regulator, and not the contract, not just the investment agency. They should not just look at giving money, a grant, or some sort of support, financial support alone. With that, possibly, yeah, we bring this to an end. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone, and thanks again to the entire fraternity, Jeffrey, for the award and the presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeffrey. This is just such an impressive effort that you guys put forth, and it's deeply, deeply appreciated. Now, before we move on to the next part of this session, I've been requested by WAPP chairman and wholeheartedly agree to invite on stage all of the WAPP founders and executive board members, committee members to honor Jeffrey. WAPP came out of the International PPP Center of Excellence, and that's where we were born, with Jeffrey's full support. So WAPP's another organization that may not be where it is today if it weren't for Jeffrey Hamilton. So we'd love to hear any of you if you'd like to say something.
I think waiting for Naresh to join. Let me see, Fatima is here. JC, can you put your cameras on? So I would... Fatima,
the system is in overload, but here we are.
Okay, well, anyway.
Yeah, so Jeffrey Hamilton,
what I wanted to do is...
if you hear us, at least, I don't know where you will be, if it's in Curacao with Jeffrey Hamilton Consulting, or in Miami, Florida, or in Gator Alley. We don't know, but we wish you all the best, and we're delighted to be able to recognize all the pioneering work that you have done for public-private partnerships for the entire public-private ecosystem. And I very much appreciate all the time you were given when we had very little support at the beginning You came to the first strategy meetings, I remember very well, at the Graduate Institute in Geneva.
Yes.
And today, 4 years down the road, we have built a network for PPPs and are advocating for better PPPs, more climate resilience, all the SDG-driven aspect. And we know that these are all the things that are very dear to you. And Naresh, yes, it's great.
JC, if you don't
Please
mind.
come in on stage.
Jean-Christophe is making my speech. I apologize. I was waiting for Naresh to join, actually, and but I second wholeheartedly what Jean-Christophe said. Jeffrey, we owe you a great debt of gratitude for supporting us in our early stages. And Irfan Hassani is not here, but if he were here, he would also have joined us. So we don't want to take much time because there's other things in the program, but it was important for, I think, all of us to come here and thank you very much and tell you that you're always with us, and look forward to working with you on other things in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
We can move on.
Thank you. Thank you, Ziad. And yes, we have not enough time for each of us to say all our thanks and what we would like to say personally to Geoffrey, but he knows. Now I'd like to move to the second part of this session, which is about the K-Infra Award. And this is about the paper with the most practical application of PPPs in developing countries. This award is sponsored by K-Infra, which will provide training to the authors. And this award has been won by an excellent paper written by Jyoti Bisbee, Chong-Bung Lee, and Patrick Ryan. And it's about climate change, climate-related risk in infrastructure PPPs. So, Chong-Bung, I think you have the floor now.
Hi, everyone. Could you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for having us here. It's incredibly humbling to speak after the appreciation note just now to Mr. Geoffrey. And I would like to say it's incredible to see so many countries being represented in the Congress. And now we could add another country calling in from a home country, Malaysia. I'm here to accept the award on behalf of my co-authors, Jyoti Bisbee and Patrick Ryan. We have a brief statement for about 2 minutes. Thank you very much, Thibault, David, and everyone, the executive team, and the editorial board for the recognition. And of course, a special thank you to WAPPP for giving us this platform and Mr. Andres for sponsoring the K-Infra Award. As mentioned, our paper is entitled Integrating Climate-Related Risk Management in Infrastructure PPPs, Key Concepts, Best Practices, and Broader Consideration. In this paper, we applied the climate-related risk framework first brought to global attention in 2015 by Mark Carney, the former chairman of the Bank of England, to analyze how the climate-related risk lens of physical risk, transition risk, and liability risk could realign and reshape the way PPP practitioners analyze and deal with risk. In our paper, there are 3 main sections. First, we analyze the economics surrounding the infrastructure, climate change, and productivity, drawing upon literature from institutions such as the World Bank and the IMF. Second, we took a deep dive on PPP, performing a holistic risk mapping exercise using concepts from the climate-related risk framework and PPP risk screening. And we also identify specific recommendations for the PPP process cycle. Finally, we emphasize the importance of adopting an ecosystem perspective, recognizing the deep and wide intersectionality with the policy initiatives and private sector efforts by other key stakeholders. Once again, we would like to thank everyone for the recognition and congratulations to WAPPP for this highly successful annual Congress.
Thank you very much, Shangbun, and congratulations again for your brilliant paper. I would just like to add that all papers will be published later this summer, so everybody will have the chance to read and appreciate the quality of your papers. So thank you very much. I think with this we have completed the first part of this session, and I now give the floor to Jean-Christophe for the partners recognition.
Here we go. Just a second. So as this impressive PPP week comes to an end, we want to also recognize all the organizations that have supported us in making this possible. Okay. And so this is a moment where we want to simply look back at the amazing event partners that we have had in leading the effort to these 5 days, which were just spectacular, and we're very happy to give them a bit of recognition here. So our lead sponsor for this annual Congress is Ansarada. And Ansarada has not only been so kind to be the lead sponsor for the 2nd year in a row, but this year also made an exclusive offer to all the WAPPP members and annual Congress delegates. You can see the link here on how to get the access to the tenders offer. And those who haven't seen the session, I would strongly encourage them to watch the replay on YouTube, because it's a really interesting opportunity to have access to the full beauty of the Ansarada suite for the data management of complex projects. And it's only once you actually bring in other partners on the tender platform that you need to start paying for the license fee. That's a really very generous offer, and we're very happy that Ansarada chose the annual Congress to make this public. Then special appreciation also needs to go towards the International Sustainable Resilience Center. We have just seen David Dodd, the president and CEO of this fabulous organization that is doing PPPs to avoid disasters and mitigate disaster risks. It's difficult to express all the gratitude that I feel towards David Dodd, because he's been a believer from the first moment when we started this network. And the partnership we have with ISRC is great, very generous, as we have seen now with the Jeffrey Hamilton Award also, that was graciously sponsored by David. And I hope that we can continue this for many, many years to come. It's a true admiration from my side. Then we've had several session sponsors. I'd like to mention them every one by one, starting with the Long-Term Infrastructure Investors Association. Dear François Berger, if you can hear us, thank you very much for the introductions that you have made, for also sponsoring 2 sessions that were both very interesting. Then also to Andres Rebollo, the CEO of K-Infra, who has also sponsored 2 sessions that were also both very interesting, and has also given this contribution in kind for the paper with the most practical solutions after our call for papers. Also, special thanks to APMG International. We had a superb session this morning where we were able to not only see the CP3P and the Climate Resilience Officer certification schemes, but also other resources that we at least I didn't know very well. And so I think that a lot of people benefited from having that. So thank you again to them also for that generous support. Special thanks also to Institut Cerda, who had an absolutely edge event about private sector participation and philanthropy in PPPs. It's not talked about very much, but we know today that the philanthropy space is looking to have more impact and is teaming up with other initiatives. And so it was very interesting to follow this session. Please watch the replay from today's session of Institut Cerda. Oracle was also a session sponsor for the technology and innovation session, and also special thanks to them and to Arthur, who made that happen. Moving on to our Expo booth partners. Very happy that Infra PPP was on board again this year. We have a wonderful joint product, which is the quarterly market review for PPPs. And I think this is going to be a game changer for the PPP industry, because we're going to be able to better interpret the data. IFC also had a booth, and a beautifully decorated booth, I must say, as the sister organization, the World Bank Group. So thank you both for having showcased all the interesting initiatives you're working on, and also for having brought in so many interesting partners to our sessions. Thank you also to the Global Infrastructure Hub, who chose to present the Infrastructure Monitor during our annual Congress. That was also a very interesting session. Thank you very much, Cynthia Pastor, for that. And now recognizing all the participating organizations that made it so much more vibrant and also diverse. Standard & Poor's Global, Sustainable Factors, Meridian, the Shift Initiative, Climate Policy Initiative, United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, the infrastructure, I don't remember what, yeah, ICG do things with Africa, the Water Risk Assessment Blueprint, Airport Council International, wonderful partners that have really given more edge also to our sessions. The European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, Shared Value in Africa Initiative, the Asian Development Bank, the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, the Economic Commission for Africa, the European, not the European Commission, sorry, the Economic Commission for Western Africa, Western Asia, the IDB Invest. More partners to come. We had the climate champion speaking at our event. We had the PPP network, Red WAPPP from the Inter-American Development Bank. We had the UNCTAD that facilitated one session. She Changes Climate, Infra Women Brazil, KPMG, Standard Chartered, you name it. All this together made an amazing event with over, I think, 150 speakers, more than 1,000 participants, and I think altogether we can be very happy the way this entire week event went. And I say thank you to everyone who was involved, and especially to my teammates who have made this possible. Tireless efforts, night and day. Our organization works 24 hours across all time zones and all continents, and this is really special. To be able to pull off something like this as a for impact organization. We thank everybody who has contributed to this Congress, and we will now move to the closing session of the Congress.